Well, what a glorious day. Welcome to Royal Ascot 2025. 200 years from the day that King George IV was involved in the first ever royal procession, more than 100 years after Ascot first became a racecourse under Queen Anne. And it's perhaps appropriate that Queen Anne is the monarch in whose honour the first race is named. And what a race it promises to be. Let's meet those who are going to be in the carriages. Obviously, we will introduce them to you when they come down the mile from the Golden Gates. Delighted to welcome a member of the Saudi royal family, two of the closest associates of Her Majesty the Queen, Lady Sarah Keswick and Mr. Annabel Elliott, and appropriately, Mrs. Annabel Elliott, and of course, appropriately as well, bearing in mind it is 200 years since we had a royal procession for the very first time. That day the King rode alongside the Duke of Wellington, and the Duke and Duchess of Wellington are most welcome guests, alongside writer Anthony Horowitz. He's written so many great things like Foyle's War, wrote the last of the Bond stories as well, and think back as well, he wrote a few of the Midsummer Murder scripts. And we welcome Lord Vestey and Lady Vestey, just amongst a few of the others in the carriages. Lord Vestey, whose father Sam was for years such a bastion of this event as Master of Horse, a former chairman of Cheltenham, and a man who won Hunt Cups with the likes of Macadamia. Now his son William, with his wife, has joined the King at Windsor Castle. And that is how this day begins for them. They are invited to Windsor Castle. A meal is served, and then they make their way halfway down the long walk. And there is a change between transport into the Landors, and with the Windsor Greys at their head, they then turn right into the glorious, and it is glorious today, straight mile. What a sight it must be for them at the mile start, looking at the packed grandstands as the royal procession gets underway. And let us not forget, this could be a very significant day. 2 years ago, the house nearly came down as Desert Hero, and Tom Marquand somehow won that race famously, Royal Ascot 2023. And the King and Queen, with hopes that Reaching High, trained by Willie Mullins, can give them another win in 2025 in the Ascot Stakes at 5 o'clock. But now at 2 o'clock, here come those Windsor Greys. And the coats, I bet they're warm in them, beaming immaculately. And the outriders, and the first chance we get to look at the royals themselves, with the King and Queen, accompanied in the front carriage by Prince Faisal bin Salman Al Saud and Lady Sarah Keswick. A lovely summer's day, a bit blowy by the looks of it, but they'll get a bit of shelter when they move closer to the stands. And one of the most wonderful things about this is that not only do the royals support this, but the knowledge of the royal family in breeding and racing is quite simply unsurpassed. They all came to town yesterday, just across at Windsor, for the annual Garter service, the oldest order of chivalry, Oniswa qui Malipons. There you can see Prince Faisal bin Salman Al Saud, a member of the Saudi Arabian royal family, and Lady Sarah Keswick in the red, who is one of the closest Queen associates, but also is the widow of Sir Chips Keswick, who was for a time chairman of Arsenal and also a leading racehorse owner in his own right. Particularly had success with Jamie Snowden over jumping at Cheltenham. So very much racing in their blood as well. on these Ascot Landauls have had a busy few days, of course, with the Trooping the Colour ceremony, starting a big week for the Royal Mews in London on Saturday, and now brought down the M4 as we look at the second carriage and the Princess Royal with the Duke and Duchess of Wellington. The Duke of Wellington, Charles Wellesley, I've almost run out of fingers, the great grandson of the first Duke. And also in that carriage is the Queen's sister, Annabel Elliot. Go back 200 years, and the Wellingtons and the royal family came together for Ascot and the first royal procession. 200 years on, the friendship stays so very, very much intact. And Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal is such a hard worker, but of course an Olympic medalist in equestrianism in her own right, and famously a winning jockey in the ladies' race here at Ascot. That was one of those special I was there moments as well. Turning for home, she was so far clear, I don't think the others realised how far before it was too late. And just have a look at these Windsor Greys. People ask me about them. They're not actually a breed of horse. Many of them are Drogheda drays, but they've been moulded, and as far as the royal family are concerned, there's only two, the Windsor Greys and the Cleveland Browns, but this is the Windsor Greys big week. As we look at the third carriage, Peter Phillips and Harriet Spurling, and also Mr. and Mrs. Anthony Horowitz. Peter Phillips this side, and Anthony Horowitz needs very little introduction. One of our most prolific and one of our most successful writers, with spy, mystery and espionage, probably his middle names here. Think back to Poirot, Foyle's War, a little bit of James Bond on the side. He's accompanied by his wife Jill, and he'll be making one of the race presentations later. What a summer sight it is, and even down at about the 3 furlong pole, people wanting the best of views. The fourth carriage on the left, with his back to the horses, is Lord William Vesty with his wife Violet. Lord Vesty's father was Master of Horse for many years, the chairman of Cheltenham. And with them are Henry and Joanna Morton-Jack. Henry, a distinguished lawyer whose record through the years is really of one who is involved very much in international law, appeared in the Supreme Court in a claim involving jurisdictional questions relating in particular to motoring and other insurance matters. And Lady Joanna is the daughter of the Earl of Halifax, which brings Ascot history into play once more, because of course it was to the home of the Earl of Halifax that the Queen went in 2005 with the Duke of Edinburgh, when for the one time Royal Ascot was staged away from here while the builders were in. And what a great 4 days the people of York offered by way of warmth and hospitality all those years ago. And I think the summer colours of this fashion parade really tell their own story. People have even left their poods behind. Here's the national anthem with the Household Cavalry Band. As the greys now turn left, and under the arch they will go before really part two of this, all the way round the Paddock parade ring winners enclosure. There are people 8, 9, 10 deep wanting their view of the landlord, as it were, and his guests and the royal family who make this such a special event. Are keen to ensure they go the long way round to the point where Sir Francis Brooke, representing the racecourse, His Majesty's representative, will be waiting, and the horses, goodness me, it's going to be hot for them, and under the arch they come. A little bit of shade offered by the trees has been very much in demand. A second carriage with the Princess Royal. She'll also be making one of the presentations. And the great thing too is that the royal family generations are all part of this, with Peter Phillips, of course, the eldest grandson of the late Queen, in the third carriage with Harriet Spurling. They first met at Badminton in 2024. But the long way round this great oval come the carriages, and your chance to have a look more detail at one in the stands. There's more details of that in the race card. And now the welcoming party await. It was a great old song, of course, go back to the days of My Fair Lady, about the Ascot opening day. And really, you couldn't have imagined a better day to film it than this. One of the great gavottes of that famous song sung by Julie Andrews, amongst others. And now the procession arrive at the meeting point. Sir Francis Brooke will step forward with other members of the trustees. Sir Francis reports direct to His Majesty the King, but so much support here from Her Majesty alongside him. Delighted to welcome Faisal bin Salman Al Saud as well to the front carriage. One thing that racing seems to do is to unite people from all over the world. The King steps forward and is welcomed by a party that includes the new chief executive here, Fliss Barnard, in her first year in the job. And the man on the left is Chris Stickles, the clerk of the course, who has been reliant totally on his watering system with no really any kind of significant help from the Almighty in recent weeks. Time for the Windsor Greys to depart. Their job is done. The Royal Mews, a rub down and some TLC await, and for the footman the chance to get out of what I suspect are very heavy and very warm clothes. So, the other guests